All right, full disclosure, this next story is something that started out as a personal observation. There's a certain intersection in town I drive through on an almost daily basis. And more, I notice drivers seem to be disregarding the left turn red light and just gumming up the works for the rest of the directions. Like blatantly and like a lot. So we went out there a couple of weeks ago to see if it was just as bad as it seemed or if it was just me. Well, even the police and traffic controllers were surprised with what we saw. State Street, one of the Treasure Valley's major automobile arteries. Tens of thousands of cars use this corridor commercially or to commute every day. And depending on the time of day, it may seem like they're all driving in the same direction at the same time as you. Timing is something we noticed, and many others didn't, where Glenwood runs into State Street. Ada County Highway District says this intersection sees 20,000 cars a day. But we were only interested in the hundreds, making a left turn from State onto Glenwood. They could have been running behind.
See the light turns red, and then I look for the stop line.
But they were definitely running a red light.
And once the vehicle passes the stop line after the light is turned red, that's an obvious violation.
Sergeant Matt Konvalinka with Boise Police says complaints about speeding, aggressive driving, and running red lights are common. Do you get complaints about this intersection specifically?
I have had complaints about this intersection. You get those heavy traffic times. It's not uncommon to see it at all of our intersections.
But what if it's during lighter traffic times, what's supposed to be off-peak hours? On a Friday morning between 10 and 11, we noticed a lot of left-turn red light runners. We synced up the video we shot, and we showed it to Sergeant Konvalinka to get his explanation of a violation.
When it's yellow, people are still entering, and once it turns red, see that's kind of borderline.
So if you enter the intersection, you're okay in yellow?
If you're on the yellow, yes. Now the yellow is supposed to give you enough time to slow down and stop.
But if you don't, and you roll past the stop line on a red light, that's a failure to obey a traffic control device. Yellow, a violation we saw a lot. Now red, and so that black car, he should be stopped.
Well, it looked like, for me, that it turned red before, right as he was at the stop line, so he should have been able to stop.
Yeah.
And stopped in time.
But instead, he just rolls through.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't cops just camp out and write a bunch of tickets? Well, it's not always that easy.
I've got to see that light turn red, and I got the time between light turn red and look down at the stop line to see the vehicle pass the stop line. I have to testify to that in court.
Is this a timing thing, or is this a driver issue?
I think it's both. Granted, you shouldn't be entering the intersection or passing that stop line on the once the light is red. You shouldn't be entering that intersection. But in order to prevent accidents, I'd like to see the timing extended to give everybody a chance to clear the intersection before the other side turns green.
That timing is controlled by ACHD.
We've noticed that there are a few more red light runners throughout Ada County.
And they notice them as they happen on their 205 closed-circuit cameras.
Impatience, maybe? Over the past, I'll say, 2 to 3 years, is that a lot of drivers have become a lot less patient.
Mike Boydston has been the congestion management supervisor for 21 years. He says the State and Glenwood intersection has 5 to 6 different timing cycles based on the time of day. How long lights are green or red is affected by an algorithm, a formula formed by 1 week's worth of traffic. A cycle could take anywhere from 2 minutes to 2 minutes and 40 seconds. The more cars needing to go one direction, the longer the light is green. While we were there, it was on a 2-minute cycle.
And that westbound left turn gets 15 to 30 seconds of green time out of that cycle.
We counted about 20 seconds from going green and then back to red, with about 4 seconds of yellow in between.
And then we also put what we call an all red interval in there. So it's red for all movements at the intersection before the next conflicting green would be displayed.
However, here, we saw this a few times, the next green seems to be conflicting with those still rolling on red. That was a really bad one.
That one was pretty blatant, yes.
So it goes yellow, and then it's going to turn red, and then some people going this way are like, what?
Oh. Yeah.
So having driven that myself, I see that more often than I would think. And I think, this is a problem.
Yes. I mean, I've seen it, and we do, jeez. Okay. That is more than I would have anticipated.
So when you see that, what does that tell you?
Maybe the timing does need to be adjusted again.
Something ACHD tries to do every 5 to 7 years.
Do you think that's a timing issue or is that a driver issue?
I think it's a combination, honestly. And that can be a problem for everybody that uses the roadways.
Mike says the solution may be as simple as adjusting that red light interval, giving cars more time to clear the intersection.
But it might be something where just another half second could make everything a little bit safer. That might steal a little bit of green time from everybody, but it would be safer.
Sergeant Konvalinka agrees. It might be easier to stall the starts than stop the runners.
People will still run the red light, but at least it will prevent an accident, which is what we really want to do. We want to stop the accidents.
Okay, so the ultimate goal is to prevent accidents and keep the streets safe. Boise police told us so far this year, well, at least half this year, from January to June, they issued 60 red light citations across the city. Also at this intersection, over the same period of time, BPD responded to 135, or actually all agencies responded to 135 traffic-related issues. 26 of them crashes, making State and Glenwood 8th on the list of intersections with the most crashes this year. Okay, so what about the solution? And maybe you drive through that intersection during that same time of day we described, and maybe you notice those same issues we did 2 weeks ago, but you're not noticing them now. Well, that's because the day after we spoke with ACHD, they adjusted the timing of that cycle, increasing it from 120 seconds to 130 seconds, and they added a half second to that red light interval when all the lights are red in every direction to allow those cars to clear the intersection. And maybe you're thinking, well, they fixed the problem, so why run the story? Because, like we learned in our discussion with the ACHD, sometimes to solve a problem, all you have to do is bring it to someone's attention. And ACHD says they encourage anyone who sees a traffic problem to report it to them, and they will do what they can to fix it.